We good?
Morning, Mike.
Okay. David, please.
Yeah, if you could just start today with what, if anything, will Leighton Vander Esch, Xavier Woods, and Zach Martin be able to do?
Leighton, Zach will not practice today. Zach may do some work on the other field, but Xavier will be in a limited fashion. So we'll start him off with Britt and try to work him into practice.
Mike, you were talking the other day about, it's always been part of your philosophy to play your best in December and teams that are on runs late. You've seen what that can do. But beyond just the timing of it, have you found that if a team can build momentum late in the year, it's even more beneficial because that's a time when players are worn down and fighting through things physically, and it can kind of build on itself even more?
Oh, definitely. I mean, your football team is definitely calloused at this time of year, and that's not as much about scheme as it is about the fundamentals and the technique and really the discipline and the turnover differential. I mean, that's such a huge factor. So, I mean, I would think coaching-wise, most of us are emphasizing the same things, but it's just like anything. If you can play your best football in December, you obviously have the best chance. If you have the opportunity to be in the tournament. So, in the last 3 weeks, we've accomplished that. So, our goal clearly is to go to New York and win this game, but and hopefully we play our best football this week.
Mike, when you go back and look at the first time around against the Giants, is there anything you pulled from that game, or is it so long ago and so much has changed for both teams? Does it make it not as useful because of that?
No, I think you always look at the first game, especially the division games, because so much it is about the personnel matchups. So I know obviously it was early in the season, but the personnel matchups and really for the players, watching themselves to go against their particular matchup, I think is of high importance, very beneficial, clearly. So, and you frankly want to make sure yourself scout that game as much as you can, and just try to anticipate, where the Giants may go. I mean, if you look at their defense, it's a multiple front defense. They play every front in football, and how they play the coverage behind that, and no different with their offense, just as far as the formation tendencies that they have and the concepts and, the shot plays, you got to anticipate, the shot plays coming off of, common concepts, which is the norm, when you get into these division games for the second time.
What's the expectation for Ezekiel Elliott in practice today? And can you talk about the leadership he's shown? I mean, there have been so many people questioning his production, but, he's certainly kept a positive attitude, and some people say he had his best game last week.
Yeah, definitely. I think you saw a healthy Zeke, but he's been very, very consistent in our time together. I say it almost every time I speak on him. He sits in the front row. He's a great teammate. He's positive all the time. He's a great teammate as far as how he expresses himself to the young guys, the way he interacts with everybody. So, just a very consistent professional, and obviously a great player with a big personality. So, I mean, he's been a joy to work with.
Will he practice there? Will he be limited? What's the situation?
He'll be in the limited category.
Mike, how would you describe the identity of your team on the field?
How would I? I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
How would you describe your team's identity on the field? Obviously, y'all have had a lot of turnover on the roster throughout the year, but now that you've stabilized a little bit, what do you think your identity is?
Well, I think, number one, you want to play to a certain play style. I think we've accomplished that here in the later part of the season. And I think that really comes from the confidence now that not only that really everybody has in one another, and that's frankly just because we've been able to continue to train and work and consistently even through this this COVID challenge. So. Our play style is evident now in all three phases, consistently the last 3 weeks, and the ability to take care of the football and take the football away, generate big play opportunities both on offense and defense and special teams. You're seeing that also. So I think the biggest thing is just the play style that is consistent through all three phases of our team.
Mike, the last time you played the Giants in Week 5, Dak suffered the season-ending injury. A few weeks ago, your team is 3-9. How do you explain what you've accomplished in terms of being able to play still for a chance to win the division on the final day of the season through all that?
Well, I just think it really speaks to the whole football team. I think you have to start with the locker room. They've been very, very consistent in their approach. They've always believed. They bring the energy every day, and then you look at the coaches and the support staffs. I mean, it's we had a lot of growing pains. We've had a lot of peaks and valleys, throughout the season. I've always felt that those tough times will pay forward to successful times, and hopefully we can keep building off of what we've accomplished the last 3 weeks, because this is what it's supposed to look like, and it's just it's just when a team starts coming together and feeding off of one another, when one unit can pick up for the other, and because every challenge is different every week, every game is unique to the challenges and matchups that are presented, and even so in today's climate of COVID, that challenge may change between Wednesday and Sunday. So just learning from the experiences of things not going, frankly, our way early, and learning from those experiences, I think it's starting to pay dividends for us.
How would you describe the challenge or the difficulty of starting 4 different quarterbacks in such a short space of time as you have done this year?
I definitely don't recommend it. It's definitely a challenge. It's I've been through it before, and it's difficult. I think particularly if you don't have the history with those quarterbacks. So I think the fact that if you just look at rep distribution throughout our time together in person, the majority of it went to Dak and to Andy, and losing Andy there for a couple of weeks was a particular challenge, because both Ben and Garrett really didn't have prior preparation leading into their opportunities. So it's always unique when you go through it. But at the end of the day, I think we've done a good job managing it, and Kellen's had to manage the offense and play a certain way, and I think particularly these last couple of weeks, we're seeing what we're capable of doing on offense.
Thank you.
Mike, you mentioned earlier in the week the Whataburgers and said you'd have to wait and see. Will there be burgers at the start today?
We'll have to wait and see. I have to talk to the team about that first. So my Whataburger guy hasn't come through quite yet, but it's a work in progress.
Mike, you talked about the use of different quarterbacks, but how beneficial has it been for you guys just to get Andy, for the last couple of weeks here?
Oh, it's been huge. It's talk about Andy's experience and his ability to play the position. That's why we were so excited when we had the opportunity to sign him, and now he's in a groove. He has the timing and the rhythm with the perimeter group, and we got a huge challenge this week schematically from this defensive front. Just all the different schemes that they're going to throw at us. So just like for instance today in the quarterback center meeting, he's sitting up there in front, and just the dialogue between him and the O-line coaches and the O-linemen, and just to make sure we're clear on which direction we're going, and how we're challenging particular schemes. We're 5, 6, 7 weeks better in that process than we were. So and I think that's when it starts moving in that direction. You see it showing up in practice and ultimately showing up on game day.
He has a ton of experience in this league. Now that he has kind of settled in, is there anything about the way he's played that surprised you?
No, I've always felt he was very consistent, and I just know his first impression in live action back on the practice field, he throws it a lot better than I anticipated, from watching him from afar. So extremely accurate, excellent anticipator, can make all the throws, and just has a great understanding of offense in general. Just the opportunity to play in a number of different systems throughout his career. He's very comfortable in our offense, and I really like the relationship of Vandy and Kellen and Doug and that whole quarterback room.
Mike, we've asked you a lot about the challenges of this season and working through the 4 quarterbacks and injuries, but especially when you're installing a new system. Do you start with trust, or do you have to have success before the trust is built to allow you to get the program to where you want it to be?
Well, I mean, you're always working on trust, and I think the challenges, particularly hard, negative experiences, is definitely an opportunity to learn and grow. So you probably have to definitely put the trust before the success, because sometimes when the success comes easy, there's a potential for false confidence to be built. So I think for as hard and difficult as our process has been, I think our foundation has a chance to be stronger moving forward.
Mike, what have you learned about Michael Gallup's personality throughout this season?
I mean, Michael's a great guy. Same guy every day. Always has a smile on his face. He's a young player that has so much in front of him. It's just creating more opportunities and moving him around as we move forward is definitely needs to be a focus of ours. He's definitely established himself and in the vertical routes off of his route tree, but I think we definitely can expand and give him some more opportunities, because he's responded at every turn, every time we've given them that chance. So excellent young player.
Mike, as you look back at it here after 3 months later now, basically, when Dak went down, can you recall your emotions as you walked across the field to go check on him that day, and just what you were feeling?
Well, I mean, those are never good moments as a head coach, because as you walk out onto the field over the years, you usually have a pretty good sense how serious the injury is, and I think just based on the reaction of the players around him, I knew it was of serious nature. So I mean, you never want to see one of your players go down, but the thing that I'll always remember was just the impact that everybody on the field had that day. From the players, the coaches, the support staff, the stadium, and particularly I don't recall ever seeing that many players and coaches come off of an opponent's sideline, and obviously with the relationship that he has with some of those coaches and players, but just the amount of respect that was shown that day, I think definitely is a reflection of the volume of what people thought of that injury.
Looking back, also was the week after the injury. I mean, you finished out that game and won it, but was it pretty evident the emotional letdown, or as the shock began to wear off? How was the team in that week and maybe a couple of weeks after the injury?
I mean, it was definitely it's an emotional challenge anytime you lose your starting quarterback. But you also talk about the leader of your football team. I mean, his leadership ability is something that just jumps off the table at you from day one. Just the respect that he commands when he walks in the locker room. His practice tempo and work ethic, and the command that he has there. So, but with that, you have to keep going, and and the opportunity moves to the next guy, and and having Andy here was definitely was a great option for us, no doubt, and now we're seeing what Andy can do with that opportunity. But yeah, definitely. I mean, Dak Prescott is a huge part of our football team.
Leadership obviously looks different when you're on injured reserve. How has Dak's leadership still been evident during his rehab process? Well,
he's here every day, so he bounces around and still very visible. So I mean, he has that connection, with the football team, especially the locker room. So yeah, he's still very active.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, have a good day.